Yo, it's Terry Jones. It's been a while. I've been doing a lot of things, like getting some things in order, but it's time to get back at it. It's time to build this thing and see what we can really do. Try to make some noise. With everything that's going on right now, like you look at the news, it's still the same old rhetoric. I turn that off. I don't even really look at the news no more. I get the updates on, you know, the cases of coronavirus and the deaths and all that to try to stay aware of what's going on. But right now it's just more of a minstrel show. Like the Democrats and Republicans is all just BS basically. Like it's just the biggest childish thing that you can ever witness in probably in American history. And it's been some brutal stuff that's occurred, you know, since America has been built. But we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to get into some real self stuff, like just living everyday life, you know, the struggle of it, the war in it, you know. The biggest war is against ourselves, making the right decisions, getting in the right conversations, being around the right people. But mostly the most important thing is like making sure that we keeping God first and focusing on, you know, his will for our lives. That's for the ones that believe, you know. The ones who don't believe, you know, God will take care of that in his own time. You know what I mean? It'll be a time where you have no choice but to believe, you know. That's in the word too. But the man in the mirror, the Michael Jackson song, whatever you want to say about it, but the man in the mirror, like the true war, you know, it's always going to be against ourselves to make the right decisions every day, all day. And it's hard when you have to go out in the world and deal with a whole lot of different things and personalities, especially going to work. A work environment is very stressful. It can be, you know, like for real, like you just think about that's just a small piece of the world, but how chaotic it can get with all the rumors and the backbiting and all this different stuff that's going on, you know what I'm saying? And I really pay attention to it, but I don't really indulge in it because it's a teaching tool, you know, of, you know, maybe where I used to be at, or never really was into all that. Like I used to go to work and have a good time, always laughing and joking, like especially down south, like, you know, it's just a different vibe. But, you know, the man in the mirror is very important. That's the person that we all need to, you know, mold and sculpt and make better on a day-to-day basis. Like if we all just focus on ourselves and the wrongs that we did, the world would be a better place when you really think about it. But it's so hard, like when you're living in areas where you're coming from nothing, because it's so hard not to become bitter. That's why very few make it, you know what I'm saying? Like, and a lot of us get trapped up in it, this street life, or whatever level you're on. Like you can, like, rich people go through it too, like the kids, you know, most of them not even happy because most of the time the parents not even around, and that's all they want more than the money is the attention from the parents. But the parents out there posturing and getting the money and, you know, hitting them fancy parties and stuff, and they don't ever really have time, you know, for their kids. And I've witnessed a lot of that coming up in a lot of different areas, like better areas, and I lived in all types of areas in my life. It's just crazy. I moved around so many times. It makes your head spin. And it's so hard for me now as an adult to actually stay in one place for a long period of time because my whole life has been a move. I've never been settled, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of people like that out there, you know, and it's hard for us to find that peace because, like, peace isn't sitting still, you know what I mean? For most of us, like, that live like this. It's a blessing and a curse because moving around so many different places and meeting so many different people in my lifetime, you realize that we're all similar. you know, and we all have the same type of flaws. It's just crazy. Like, you're exposed to more. Like, living out with my uncle in West Hampton, you know, and him, you know, taking care of mansions year round, it exposed me, you know what I'm saying? Someone that didn't have nothing and was always in the street before I moved there, you know what I mean? It exposed me to more, you know what I'm saying? So it's like my mindset won't allow me not to have more. I want more, you know what I mean? Not like a greedy person, but I don't want to settle for just having an average life, you know what I'm saying? I don't need to be rich and famous, but I want to be comfortable and at peace, you know what I mean? And I think that's all that anybody really wants, just to be comfortable and at peace. And it's like when you're always fighting the outside world, we tend to lose the focus on the inside, you know what I mean? And that's where the true focus should always lie, because as long as we stay centered and focused and true to who we are, and we move forward on this code, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna live a certain way, and no matter what goes on the outside of us, we're not gonna allow it to affect us on the inside. Except for things that touch us close to heart, like, you know, so many different things going on out there with, you know, sex trafficking, and, you know, all these kids getting kidnapped, and, you know, kids getting killed in crossfires, you know, recently that we saw in the, like, one was in Chicago, one was in Georgia. You know, we see these things, and it's crazy. Like, this kid, he got shot down in front of his own kid a few weeks ago right here in New York City. Like, why would you even shoot at somebody that has a kid? What is truly wrong with us? What is the problem? Like, we're so enraged, man. And it's like we're doing everything against ourselves, and we're asking another race to have respect for us when we lost respect for ourselves. I'm talking to the black community right now. You know, you got to follow me, because sometimes I go a little left or right real quick, and then I come back, you know, because it all is relevant to what I'm trying to say into the overall picture in which I'm trying to sculpt here. Like, it's real, you know what I'm saying? And we know it's real, like, because we all feeling it. Like, none of us have ever lived like this with this COVID thing, like, inside and not going nowhere and doing things. It's a different type of lifestyle, but it's one that we're gonna have to get used to for a while until you know, this thing calms down. Like, we see these people out in South Dakota, they out there, all these bikers and stuff, no mask or nothing. Like, what is that all about? That's like counterproductive. Here we go again. People are not watching the news in that aspect and learning from what they're seeing. You don't listen to what people are telling you. Just look at the numbers. Keep your eyes on the numbers. That tells you everything you need to know. Shut it down. Shut it down until we get this thing contained. Let's move on. We're getting back to the man in the mirror and the trials and tribulations we face that take our focus away from dealing with the man in the mirror. You know, like, people always want you to be involved in some dumb stuff for some reason. They're not happy with you being content, and you can't allow yourself to get pulled into that type of lifestyle, that type of world, because it's just going around in a circle. Your whole life exists only on the gossip and the anger towards someone else. And me growing up, I didn't grow up particularly happy. I mean, I had my moments. I had happy moments in my life, but my childhood was terrible. You know what I'm saying? I mean, by the time I was 16, I was done. Like, I wasn't my whole mindset was lost. Like, and I went from being a victim to creating victims out of nobody. You know what I mean? And this is what I'm talking about, like, not allowing the things that have happened to us to affect others, like actually dealing with these things, not carrying around the weight of other people's sins, you know what I'm saying, and ruining your life. You know, we have to be strong in that, and we always got to focus on what the Word of God says. Like, when it comes to everything that's going on, don't get really mad at the individuals, you know, because that's not the war. It's all spiritual. We're always fighting, you know, evil spirits. Like, this is real. This is the reality. You know what I'm saying? This is the true reality in which we choose not to shine a light on, because deep down, a lot of us, we say we believe, but do we truly believe? You know, faith without works is dead. You know what I'm saying? So what are our works saying about how much do we believe in God? And looking at the fact of, you know, all the violence and all the craziness is going on out in the world, all the hatred. Like, here I go again. I walked in a gas station 2 days ago, and it was a brother in front of me. I nodded. He just looked me up and down like, yo, this, you know, it's like, come on, where's that mentality come from? Like, if we're enemies towards each other and everybody else hates us too, like who the hell is our ally? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's on our side? You feel what I'm saying? And it's like, it comes down to, it's not about black or white, Hispanic, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, North Korean, whatever. It's not about that. And we're trapped in the devil's web, because he has us focused on the wrong wars. You know what I'm saying? And when it's really just one war, you know what I'm saying? The war against good and evil. And the only way to fight that war is spiritually. And the only way to have the ammunition to fight that war is through the word of God. You know, and that should always be our foundation going forward, is God first, the word of God, like renewing our mind, changing our whole life system, getting into a new rhythm, a new flow, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, one of the thou commands that God gave us out of the 10 commandments is thou shalt, you know, love God with everything, and thou shalt love thy neighbor, you know what I'm saying? We get these two things right, we got a guaranteed ticket into heaven. If we work these on a day-to-day basis, no matter what happens or what comes at us, we just give and show love, and just let our love, you know, flow through, you know what I mean? And anything that's, you know, I learned though, the more good you try to do, the more evil comes at you through people. It's a system. It's a demonic system against us. This is not black or white. I had to really just think about everything, you know what I'm saying? This is not, because this is not what my mother raised me to be, like thinking of things in black and white. And I've always knew that all white people wasn't racist, because when I was a kid, there used to be a white guy across the street, Mr. Adolph. I used to go over there every day, watch the news with him, and he used to give me vanilla wafers and, you know, taught me how to shoot a BB gun. And he was a really good person. He was an old white man that used to live by himself. And I remember coming home or just being outside that morning when the people was, you know, taking his body out and stuff like that. And I always remembered him, you know what I mean? And it's a good thing, because it always kept me grounded in the fact that not all white people are bad. And living over in West Hampton Beach for 6 years and going to a mostly white school, and everything is mostly white, it's like I learned there too that there are good and bad, you know what I'm saying? And it was good for me to be exposed to that side, because even rich people are good and bad. And that's just the way it is. That's all it is. Like, it's good and bad. And we can't judge the bad just because of their color and say it's because of their color that they're bad, or just because, you know, these slave owners and all the stuff that all these racist white people are doing. We can't allow it to affect the good white people, because we don't want them to judge us. Like, in the black community, a lot of us use this phrase: there's black people and there's niggas. Niggers. You know what I'm saying? The ignorant niggas. The ones you look in their eyes and they don't have no love for nobody. That's in every race. You feel what I'm saying? The ignorance. So we have niggers in all our races. We have ignorant people in all our races. They make us all look bad. I've made us look bad. You know, I did a lot of things that I regret. I was wild. You know what I'm saying? I was hateful. I was revengeful. You know what I'm saying? It was a silent rage too, because I didn't talk much coming up. You know what I'm saying? It's like I started off as an outward, and a lot of different things happened to me between the age of 5 and 16 that it just made me a different type of person. And it kind of had me detoured for years in my adult life, like just like looking at everybody like an enemy, you know what I'm saying? And and untrustworthy. And I'm gonna tell you, like, being there for my mother from the moment she got cancer back in 2005, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was there for every surgery. I was there for every major thing that she went through up until she passed away this past October. Seeing her operate and actually paying attention to her for the first time in my life, really not the first time in my life. When I got locked up, I was gone for, I got 7.5 years. The second time, you know what I mean? Like I said, I was dumb. And it's just like her coming to visit me every weekend or every other weekend, no matter where I was at, and her dedication to, I had just moved, had set up a house and everything. I had, you know, put it on the land and cleaned off the land and just moved in that Tuesday, got in trouble that Saturday. The next thing I know, I'm violating my probation and I'm gone again. And she held the house down, she held me down, and it really allowed me to see my mother. Because, you know, it's like, you're so wrapped up in your rage and stuff for things that happened to you when you was young by other people. My mother never did nothing to me wrong. And you hold grudges against everybody, and the good people catch it. And it's just like, you get trapped up in pain. You start going down a road that it gets darker and darker as you going down that road, to the point you don't even see what good and bad is anymore. Everything you do, you think you're right in your own eyes. And you can destroy people, or you can seriously hurt people and break people's heart, and you can do a whole lot of damage going down this road, you know what I'm saying? And that's what the devil wants you to do, because as long as he keeps everything divided, can nothing come together and actually make a difference, you know what I mean? And it's all about always constantly being focused on the man in the mirror, because it all starts there. Like, what is your focus on? What is my focus on? Are we focusing on doing the right thing, or are we focusing on, you know, bettering ourselves? Maybe reading a couple lines out of the Bible or a book, or, you know, doing something constructive to help somebody, or are we always doing everything for ourselves? I'm not a flashy type. You know, I can have $1 million and you probably wouldn't even know it. You know what I mean? I'm that type of person. People can think whatever they want. My mom taught me a different way to live. It ain't about material things. So while you might think I'm broke, it is what it is. I still got my gear. I still got my cars. But it ain't about flashiness. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, I'm satisfied with getting up and living my life, man, without any attention. As long as I have a few people that care and love for me, man, I'm all right. That's all that matters to me. I mean, it got dark, you know, when my mom passed away, and it didn't. Sitting there with self-guilt, did I do enough? Which I did. I was there every day. I was there through everything. I was still living in Virginia when she moved back to here to New York, because she's from Virginia. I was born and raised here in New York, but I lived my whole adult life in Richmond, Virginia, and down in Emporia, Virginia. You know what I mean? You know, the South is good, man, but it's different. And the North is good, but it's different. I mean, I hate and love things about both, you know what I mean? But putting all that aside, you know, I moved back here in 2010 after being gone since 1992. And I was by my mom's side the whole time while she went through everything. And, you know, had to hold her when I would catch her crying in her room and get her to all the doctor's appointments and stuff like that. It really brought out the best in me, because all of a sudden I had to be there for someone. And I was there for her every, you know, whatever she needed, you know what I mean? And it helped me wean myself away from the streets finally. That was the one thing that helped me say, I'm done with the streets, you know what I'm saying? Like, this woman needs me, and I can't get caught up in no madness. I can't go back to jail, even though I had my close encounters, of course. You know, I had my days where I melt down. But at the same time, I'm a good person, because when it's all said and done, when the thing came, when she needed me, when, you know, I was there. And I tell you, man, it was a journey. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do, you know, because I lived my life just not caring about nothing. And then, you know, her like I said, coming to visit me and holding everything down, it allowed me to see who she really was again, you know what I'm saying, in my life, and what she represented and what she was. My mother was all love, and she didn't have nothing negative to say about nobody, even the ones she knew that hated her. So it was just like, just to watch her go through everything and be in pain every day, and always worrying about, am I all right? Or, you know, did I go see the doctor? Or did I eat? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, always worrying about me, like the type of person she was. And when she passed away, it's like, I wanted to do something that would make her proud. I wanted to live a life that she always preached to me and always talked to me about, I mean, and what my great-grandmother taught her about God and faith. My great-grandmother, just all the stuff my mother told me about her and what she meant to my mother, and everything she told me about her. I look at my family on my grandmother's side, my grandmother's family, like, and she gave every generation after her, and whoever gave it to her, showed her God. She handed us faith, man, and God on a silver platter. It was truly her faith and her strength that was instilled in all her kids, that got instilled in all her grandkids and great-grandkids, because everybody believes God is definitely first in all our lives. And that's something that I'm definitely appreciative of, that my mother was exposed to her for her first 5 years, because it just seems like my mother was sanctified, set apart from everybody else. And it was only inevitable that I would be the same thing to my family, like not quite fit. And it took me a long time to realize that. And by reading the Word of God and actually thinking about that and how He sanctifies certain people, it just like, it made me feel like my mother and I had purpose. And the way that I feel that certain family members should have honored her and should have looked at her, and they didn't, and all the respect and love that she gave them, I feel like it's time for them to understand once and for all who she is through me, and who she was and what she represented. It was all about love, you know, God, love, family, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, if you really paid attention, it was something that a lot of people couldn't do, like live on that level of everywhere she went, she lit it up, and everybody loved her. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that she got so much respect from everybody, I think people didn't really like that. Some people didn't really like that. Because my mom had a universal respect. You know what I'm saying? And it took me a while to realize that. But she was loved. And she was loved more than people that have so-called status was loved and respected. And I think now I understand. I understand now, you know. But, yo, it's all love over here. I'm not the same person I was. I'm going to follow in her footsteps now. And I'm going to follow God with everything I got. And I named this thing Lean Nation because my mother's name was Vageline, and everybody called her Lean, you know what I'm saying, all her sisters and everybody. But, you know, because I wanted to represent her and everything she stood for, but she did that for herself, you know what I mean? So I'm changing the name, you know. I was going to name it BBRS, for Blood-Bought Radical Saints, but I think I'm just going to name it Terry Jones Gospel, you know what I'm saying, like my Instagram page, you know what I mean? Like, it's just simple, and it ain't about me pushing, per se, my gospel on you and say, this is how you're supposed to believe, but just going to share my beliefs, you know what I mean? And how my beliefs changed my life and how God changed my life, you know, and how my mother changed my life and how my son changed my life. Because by me being there for my mother, him and our relationship suffered. And he took the blunt of it. And we lost a lot of years because it was serious. Him being in Virginia, me being in New York. But we're good now. And when I went to see him and we was hanging around, and I always preached him, I want him to be better than me. And, you know, and I told him everything I done wrong. Like, I never lied to him because I didn't want him to make them mistakes, and I wanted him to see what the mistakes cost you. You know, that I feel like that's the biggest injustice that we can do for our kids, is to hide who we were and hide our evolution. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they don't see the struggles we had, we can't help them. We can't just give them one side, the good side, and say this is who I am, because that's cheating them out of a lot. And it could mean the difference between life and death in certain households, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's true. I think it's definitely a need to be honest and true to our kids, you know what I mean? And not to lie to them, because they're not stupid, and actually give them a future and actually give them hope, you know what I'm saying? Like, and encouragement, and push them, because, you know, I see in my son now that he is way more mature than I was at that age, and he's everything I want to be. But getting back at it, the man in the mirror, definitely focus on that. Stop focusing on what everybody else is doing. That's none of your business. We all have faults, you know what I'm saying? None of us are better than the next. And why don't we just try to keep our mouth shut with the negativity more, and try to encourage more, first ourselves, so we can be better for ourselves and more happy with ourselves. And then we go out in the world, we try to change that. Until the next time, Terry Jones Gospel. Get at me on Instagram, wherever, leave your comments. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to do this better, and we can grow together. You know what I'm saying? I'm out.